Hello, this is Elrock617 here with a submission for a Sega arcade title called Alien Syndrome. This is a game I actually learned a little bit less than 6 months ago. It was for Halloween month. I wanted to learn more horror games, and this game is something I'd worked on in the past a little bit, but mostly with safe 1cc grindable strats. However, I had to bless the YouTube algorithm for this one because mine randomly found me a sub 7 run for a runner that was not verified by any leaderboards, but it still intrigued me. I thought to myself, well, the fastest runs I've seen for this game are about 15 minutes, so seeing like a 6:53 or so was heavily intriguing, and I thought, I wonder if this is actually more appealing if it goes faster, and it turns out it was. I was able to get my first sub 7 after, I think it was about a day of attempts, and then I bopped that person's time, which I guess was the unverified world record, the next day, and now I have the world record. That was around a 6:52, I think, and in the past couple weeks it's improved down to a 6:41 and then a 6:38 with some new strats. This video I'm going to be showing here is actually being played on the Sonic Ultimate Genesis collection for the PlayStation 3. Having played both this as well as through emulator, this version of the game is arcade perfect. There's no real discernment between the two. Another thing I want to note, this run actually comes with a free donation incentive. You have your choice of playable characters at the beginning between Ricky and Mary, which I think are supposed to be allegories for Bill Paxton and Sigourney Weaver from Aliens, and they have no gameplay differences, so if this were to get accepted, that donation incentive would come along with it. Also, I will admit this, the game, despite being very short, is incredibly difficult, but it's also really fun, and it's a really good skill showcase. So, this is a run through VLC that I just recorded maybe 30 minutes before I started this recording, so we'll go ahead and hit play. I'll make sure the timer starts. Okay. Timer starts on character select, which we've done. So it's an overhead shooter. We go through 7 stages. We have to rescue 10 of our allies to be able to escape a stage. There are 16 allies per stage except the last, and the last stage is just a boss fight. For a 100% run, you'd have to rescue all 16, but for 80%, we're only going to rescue 10. And it's a 1cc attempt. We start every stage with a regular basic weapon that doesn't have a lot of range, but we are able to upgrade our weapon in every single stage. Fireball gun allows us to be able to tackle this boss for more damage. The first form of this boss actually is 3-cyclable, but I wasn't able to quite get it there. Still a good 4-cycle, but the real meat and potatoes is the second form, which we want a 1-cycle. We're able to take it out there. Moving on from there. Regarding special weapons, you do not carry special weapons over from stage to stage. Once you leave a stage, you're back to your basic weapon, and then you have to get another special weapon. Another thing to note, every stage in this game has different enemy groups. You will never see a repeat of an enemy across any stage. So for stage 1, we had those little worm-looking things. Here you have xenomorph clones that can spit stuff at you. This is all pretty carefully routed, as we're just moving around the room, making sure we obtain our comrades. We get one of the better weapons in the game in this stage, the flamethrower. There's an arcade meme that says, think about flamethrowers in video games is, and the joke is it's either really bad or really good. It actually is very good here, but we only get it here. So for the boss here, who I've labeled kidney beans, or if you want uncooked chicken, if you're that gross, we're gonna take out the first shield full of beans, and then after the second shield, we get it down to about there, and then we can go for the center, and that'll finish it off. I'm gonna run along. That stage 2 is actually a gold split. That was a really, really good stage 2. For stage 3, this is where the game really starts to amp up. We've got these enemies that are gonna be firing projectiles at us. I did miss a couple of shots at interfering projectiles that were just kind of in my way, so you can shoot those, but I should have probably just aimed down and shot once I got up there. Just a little micro step. This one was also weird. This has never happened before. I never missed that enemy. Had to go across this bridge. Did not think that would catch up with me, so that was new. Once you obtain this hostage here, you just want to hug the wall. You get your fireball gun. Same special weapon we had in stage 1, which mentioned isn't great, but it's better than your basic weapon for sure. Also, these orbs are useful in later stages. I'll talk about those when it's relevant. So stage 3, this actually was a little bit slower than I would have liked for it to be. For the first wave, I want to take out that row of bubbles there to Just get as much damage in as I can. You can't do that all in one cycle, although I was supposed to get that bat leg in the first cycle, which I didn't get there. So the start of the third cycle, we were able to finish it off. So that was a little slower than I would have liked, but still good. Only lost maybe a second on that. Stage 4 is interesting. It's the introduction of the most powerful weapon in the game. And it also features not a lot of enemy interaction in the stage itself. This room in particular in the top left is pretty tough. Just gotta be really tight about making sure you get to that top corner. So here we have Laser. Laser's incredible. It pierces, it does really good damage. You can mash it for more output. This is a very mash-heavy game, by the way. There's a reason I played on stick. So this room, my goal is to not try and attack anything, but the routing is kind of weird. Like, you kind of have to hug the wall, and you can't just go right for that hostage there. You have to go down, up, then around. And I have tried routing it to go left, but an enemy always comes at you from a very inconvenient angle, so that's fast to be able to find. This is one of the tougher bosses. I call him Shmup Boss for a reason. Just because his movement is just so fast. Like, he just up and down and up and down. And Laser is very powerful at taking him out and very efficient, but you still have to land your shots, and he does make that difficult just because his movement patterns are so odd. So the last two stages are definitely the hardest in the game. Last two pre-final boss stages. Stage 5, I don't think, honestly, would be that bad if it wasn't for this pane of glass at the top of the stage that acts as an, an obfuscation of certain things. These enemies are fairly difficult. They're really fast. Hit them as they come out of the ground as best you can. This is also going to be another laser stage, and it also features maybe the coolest boss fight in the whole game from a speedrun perspective. That enemy is sometimes there. I haven't determined what makes them appear or not, so I can only determine that it's probably RNG. We've got Laser again. As I mentioned about the boss fight earlier, this is actually a really cool boss because we do get to have a quick kill. Go to the bottom left, sit tight, go to the center, aim up right, match Laser, and he's gone. The key there is just making sure you don't get hit by the enemies that sprout out of the ground. There are two safe spots. There's bottom right and bottom left. The bottom left one has been more consistent for me, though I have utilized both. Stage 6 is not only the hardest stage in the game, it's also the longest. And I will offer a spoiler, there was an unintentional death in this stage, but the rest of the run was so solid that I wanted to keep it, so. These enemies are really large, so their hitboxes are a problem. They also move really fast for enemies that big. Laser is once again our best friend. We're gonna just cut through some of these enemies here. This section in particular is really hard. Making sure you get all those enemies out of your way before they start shooting stuff at you is pretty tough. Around this curve here, this is where things started to get a little ugly. I thought I nailed that guy before I turned the corner, and it just turns out I didn't, so I just accepted the death and moved on. You can see the cue in the music there. Most of the other stages don't even make it this long. It's how you know it's the longest. We're gonna make our way up. And we also have, in addition to the hardest stage in the game, the hardest boss in the game. It's a really cool exploit when it works. We're gonna go over here, fire left, hit those. Then we have to hard up left in the bottom right corner. And all we're gonna do is just mash Laser and kill any of these worms that get in our way. Caterpillars, I guess. And then that takes out the baby. The whole time you're aiming up left, you're just piercing damage on through it. It's really strong. And it takes care of any enemies that would try to get in our way otherwise. So for our final boss, it's actually a pretty short boss as long as you're good at mashing. Have to dodge these tornadoes. They're the only things that are a problem. I was able to get an efficient 3-cycle here. Do that. For 645, not too bad. Again, 645 a month ago would have been my PB. It's been improved to 638 since then. But yeah, I hope this does get considered. This game is really short, it's really fast, it's really hard, and it's really cool. It's a cool reflection on the time, because I mean, in the mid-80s, it seemed like most major devs were trying to come up with like an Alien clone type game. Also, the year 2000 AD is an incredible meme. I would love to be able to show that. Yeah, Ricky and Mary are safe. They save all their comrades. They get the heck off the planet and float on to outer space, just like real life. Alright, I really hope you all appreciated that. Again, this game is really neat. I've never done anything Sega before for GDQ, and it's also my shortest run that I've ever hoped to be considered, and it's just such a cool game. It's blindingly fast when you're actually utilizing speed strats. It is. There are some safe strats, but honestly, I think they made the game more difficult because it just makes things drag out a bit, and enemies are just... you know, they're enemies. They show up in more numbers and it gets a lot more difficult. So anyway, that's Alien Syndrome. Once again, that will come with free donations to pick between the two characters. Will not change gameplay. It's just pure cosmetics. Pick the guy, pick the woman, do whatever you wish. Anyway, thanks so much. Rock signing off.